Fully inspired, fully engaged. You're tuning in to Reality with Vicki Gunvalson.
So everybody, welcome back to Reality with Vicki. I'm here with this incredible gentleman who I've actually physically never met yet, but we've met several times. Howard, welcome to Reality with Vicki. And we just had a great story. So tell me about your daughter, your stepdaughter, and the relationship with you.
Her name is Samantha, and I was telling her that I just met this incredible person, and she said, "Who is she?" And I said, "She's one of the housewives." "Which one?" And I said, "Vicki." And she goes, "Oh my God, I'm Vicki's biggest fan." So you've got a fan in Annapolis, Maryland. Her name is Samantha Bistani, and she is a wonderful young lady, 31 years old with a baby, and obviously she hangs on your every word.
Well, good. You know, that's an interesting age group, Howard, because, you know, she was most likely around 15, 16 years old when the show started. And that was that high school generation. I was showing that I had high schoolers. So there was a relationship a lot with that generation. And now they are 15 years older. They have a family of their own. And many of them will come up to me in airports or anywhere I see, and they say, "Because of you, I got my education. Because of you, I was able to leave a dysfunctional marriage. Or because of you, I have realized how important family is." And, you know, if you do a reality show, you really never know how they're going to edit you, and they're going to do good and bad and the ugly. But the core of who I am is still who I am. I love my family first. I love God. I love my family. And then I'm a good businesswoman. So I think that is a great mentorship for a lot of these kids, you know, getting kind of distrayed and not knowing where they're going.
You know what? Being a role model in today's society, we need role models like you. I mean, you empower people, especially women, and certainly in that age group, they have families, and you are able to teach them and communicate things that maybe even their own mothers aren't able to communicate to them.
You're right, Howard, because there's a lot of time to disconnect with a parent and child. I went through it with my kids for a little bit, and then they realized I was pretty much right. So they weren't allowed to have.
It's funny, these kids turn around and, you know, I tell them one thing and they tend to have to learn on their own. And I have a sign on my desk, actually, and it said, this is from my wife, and it says, "Mr. Always Right." And the fact of the matter is, I don't put that there because I'm always right. I'm wrong a lot of the times.
No, but if everybody knows the
But
rules.
it's experience. I've been around a long time.
And we do know a lot. And so we don't know everything. We know what we know, but I think that's a great sign. I'm going to have to copy it. I've got one that says,
Maybe I will send you one.
I would love that. I'm a boss bitch. I'm a multitasker. I got all these different signs all over my office. But at the core of who we are, we have our family, and I'm so excited to have you on today. So for those of you that are here, Howard is with Debt.com CEO, Mr. Boss Man. He's the guru behind this incredible company. And some of you may have not have heard of them yet. Most of you probably have. We are in a really uncomfortable place in many people's lives because of this COVID and lack of work and borrowing money that we are going to end up eventually having to pay back. So talk to me a little bit about your company and the benefits of it.
Well, Debt.com is a great company, as you can tell. I mean, we've been around, personally, I've been in the debt space my entire career. But more importantly, I started what is Consolidated Credit, which is the largest credit counseling agency in the world. And we then noticed that we could only help a couple of the people, maybe 10% of the people were actually candidates for a debt management plan, but people need all sorts of help when they're coming with debt. And essentially, Vicki, we have been able to build Debt.com to address a lot of people's concerns, whether it's education, whether it's actual products that they need, whether it's hand-holding, whatever the case may be, we're going to help you if you have debt problems. I can't solve the world's problems, but I can definitely solve anybody's debt problems.
Mm-hmm. And many of the people that are on this podcast have followed me on this Financially Fabulous with Vicki Facebook page. And we created a budget worksheet, and I'm so excited to partner with you because debt is a big deal. And many people get into debt, then they get out of debt, then they get back into debt. And I think a lot of it is they're not budgeting, they're overspending. They're thinking that all of a sudden one day they're going to get a windfall and this debt can be paid off. And statistically, it's not going to happen. So I love the fact that people can lean on you and consolidate their debt and look to you and your company for help. Because I think right now everybody needs help, or most of us do.
Everybody needs help. The key is not getting into debt. And that's what the people have to learn from the start. And, we are a society that is addicted to debt. And we have to learn to break that addiction and carry those lessons throughout life and hopefully instill the same ideology onto our children and grandchildren, frankly.
I always remember years ago, I met somebody, male or female, it doesn't really matter, who owed money to the IRS. And I said, how did that happen? Well, they were paid 1099. They didn't pay their quarterlies or monthlies. And then it started adding up. And when I was younger, my father took out a loan, $300,000 loan for his payroll for his company. And the bank called the note a month later and he couldn't pay it back. He collateralized his house and he lost his house. And I was in 8th grade. And I will never forget it. My father said one thing: don't ever collateralize your home and always pay your taxes. And I'm obsessed with paying my taxes. I mean, if I get a 1099 check today, it is being paid to federal and state today. I don't let it sit in the account because it's not my money. And if I could teach people about that, there's so many subcontractors out there and so many people that do get paid 1099, and then they're using 100% of that check to support their lifestyle. And guess what? They really only should be using 60%, right?
They forget about taxes. I will tell you, as a CPA who specialized in taxation early in my career, the IRS does not have a very good sense of humor. It's just true. They are somebody you don't want to ever owe money to. And frankly, although their interest rates are not terrible, as terrible as some of the lenders, the banks, it does add up and it does compound, and it's really hard because you can't discharge those debts. It's incredible. And frankly, you telling me your story about debt, and that's kind of how I started early lessons. I grew up in a average middle income family, and all of a sudden my dad died out of nowhere, and 2 years later we were qualified for welfare. And although my mother was a very proud woman, wouldn't take a dime from anybody, we had the heat turned off. And in the middle of New Jersey, in February with no heat, it's a little challenging. And you learn those lessons in life to change your philosophy, that people need to make sure that they have a savings account, that they have all the pieces of this financial puzzle to put together.
So your mother never life insurance on your dad then?
My mother had some life insurance, but it was eaten up, not a lot. And back then, he was 47 years old and healthy. And, with some life insurance, that helped us for the first year or so. But right. That was eaten up between a lot of different expenses going on. So, life insurance is incredibly important to secure the puzzle of financial stability.
Yeah, and when that paycheck stops the next day. So I use the rule of thumb of 15 times the annual earnings. So if somebody's making $50,000 a year, you times it by 15, and that's your number that you have to get in life insurance, because that will sustain you for 15 years. And by then you'll be able to get back on your feet, hopefully, or who knows what will happen. But so many people are underinsured, or they say, oh, I've got coverage with my employer. That typically isn't going to be enough. So that will be something that you and I are going to be talking more about on your website, leading people to the proper place.
I like that rule of thumb. I may steal that from you if you don't mind.
Just take it.
But I'll give you credit once in a while.
That's okay. You can bring it on. Let me tap myself on the shoulder. So I've got some questions for you. I'm going to put my glasses on because I'm old and I can't read anymore. My first question is, most people are private, so they prefer to solve their debt problems on their own. But how can somebody tell when it's time to get help from debt.com?
It's the age-old question. When it's time, it's time. I mean, that matters if you're constantly worried about your finances, if you're not sleeping, if it's leading towards arguments within your marriage or your, your relationships. If you're constantly thinking about debt, and frankly, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, it's time to step back and do some investigation and see, how do I solve this problem? How do I improve my life to make it better?
That's awesome. Because like you say, most people, when they get into debt, they keep that debt going and it's a snowball, and then they don't know how to get out of it till it's too late, and then they are getting divorced, and they are having problems at home, and they are, really scared. And I want to just give everybody peace of mind that you're in good hands here with us. And those of you that are listening, you're not alone. I mean, you are a thriving company because people need help with debt, right?
I mean, frankly, we have helped over 10 million people over the course of the last 3 decades. And frankly, you're not alone. And this is a problem. There's no real education out there that's given to children and even college kids unless you try to seek a course.
Yep.
And a lot of it is self-learned, and we're relying on parents to teach these children the good habits. And chances are the parents are in worse shape knowledge-wise.
So I'm going to give you a little bit of my upbringing. I was one of 5 children, and I was the firstborn of 5, but I was the middle child. My mom and dad adopted 2 twins before me, and then my sister and brother after me. I was my father's pride and joy. He just thought the world rose and set in my life, and I was their victory. They never thought they could have kids, and so they named me Victoria. But I was always a math nerd in school. I would get A++ on math and history. I'd get a C, and psychology, C. And I was just like, I love math. I'm a math freak. So my father, I remember in 8th grade, he sat me around his round table and he brought home his paycheck in a check, and he deposited it, and he showed the deposit. Back then you actually logged in your deposit, your checkbook. And then he put a stack of bills in front of me. He said, I want you to write out every single bill. I will sign them, and I want you to see how quick this goes down. So let's say he had $2,000 a week coming in, and the bills were $1,500. Then we had $500. He said, we're going to split these up into envelopes. We're going to give your mother $200 for groceries. We're going to put $100 in vacation fund, $100 to tithe. And we went through, and I said, are you kidding me? We only have $50 left over for the week. We're poor. And he said, no. All the bills are paid. Your mother's got grocery money. All the 5 kids are good. We tithed, and this is what we have left. And I still to this day, do that. And my children do that, because I sat them down at 6th, 7th, and 8th grade and said, okay, this is what we're bringing in as a paycheck as a family. This is what our bills are. This is for your sports. It's for your cheerleading. This is for your college. And it worked. And I think that just basic stuff like that, if we could teach our children, they're a product of us. Our kids are a product of their environment. And, my little 8-year-old and 6-year-old grandson, I sit them down and I say, okay, Nana's giving you, for every year they are old, they get $10. So if they're 8 years old, they get $80. And then we put the money aside in savings, and what do you want to do? We go to Target or wherever they want to go. But it's teaching them responsibility with money. So Troy's like, when I'm 18, I'm going to get $180. I said, yep. And when you're 30, you're going to get 300. So it's like a really cool thing, because they know what their birthdays would be.
But you're a financial executive. You're a financial guru, Vicki. And the reality is, most of the people, at least that I see at debt.com, do not take the time to teach their kids, or they just don't have the knowledge. I mean, you and I breathe this stuff in daily, so we know what to do. And even the people that know what to do sometimes have a hard time communicating it, and myself included. I have two children, and then I have 2 stepkids, and it is somewhat difficult to communicate that to children.
It is.
Will tell you, luckily when I was growing up, I had my 2 grandmothers who lived through the Depression, and it was always drilled into our heads, save, because someday we may not have money.
You're going to need it.
Yep.
I love this. So we're going into number 2. What's the difference? And there's only 5. So I don't want to think like,
that's okay.
There's only 5.
Okay. So,
what's the difference between debt management program through a credit counseling agency and a debt settlement program when is it the right time to use each of them? And so fall into where you would come in versus the two, debt management or debt settlement.
It depends. Like lots of questions. There's no easy answer. I will tell you that Debt.com offers both programs through its partners. They offer a settlement program. They offer a credit counseling program. It's always best to start with a credit counseling advice, and basically, if necessary, then you go to the next step. But basically, a credit counseling business or debt management program, as it's commonly known, is a complete review of your finances. They're going to go through your income, they're going to go through your expenses, they're going to look at your debt, and they're going to try to work out a payment. Credit counseling agencies in the debt management plan have national contracts with all the major credit card companies that are already pre-negotiated. So they're going to give you the best deal possible. And if that doesn't work, then there's alternatives. Or maybe somebody just needs words of encouragement or basically a path to go down to get out of debt. Some people you can't sign up, and you have to make sure that you're not signing up for something that you don't need. The other side is, if the credit counseling program is not right, what are the next steps? You go into a debt management plan and you go into a debt settlement plan. And a debt settlement plan is where somebody who's behind on their debt that can't make their payments comes to us, and we start accumulating money in an account over time, and we negotiate with those creditors to get your payments down and eliminate your debt. Now, there is some good sides and bad sides. Credit counseling or debt management plan usually tries to maintain your credit rating, and it's in an agreement, in a partnership with your current creditors. Whereas debt settlement, because you're paying 40 cents on the dollar, it's a adversarial relationship saying, Mr. Creditor, do you want these dollars? And you're going to end up paying probably 40 cents on the dollar of what you owe, but that 40 cents comes at a cost, because you may get phone calls, it destroys your credit, and you could possibly get sued. Does it happen often? Probably not the suit part, but it does happen here and there. Then there's also a bankruptcy option. If somebody can't qualify for the debt management plan or the debt settlement plan, then we'll put you into a different product altogether.
Okay, that's awesome. Now, you and I talked about this a little bit, but what was your aha moment that you said, you know what, I've got a skill set, I've got the armored tool chest that I can go out and start helping people and making a difference in their life? It was a while ago, right? I know my aha.
Question. Well, the first part was, growing up, having a single mother, a single parent with no income coming in, having the heat turned off in the middle of winter it's a pretty scary thing. I remember huddling around the oven because that was the only source of heat, just trying to stay warm, which is completely crazy. But I remember doing that. The other thing is, we went through, when I started out as a CPA, I specialized in debt restructuring for very wealthy people. During the late 90s, there was a banking crisis, and I would sit there and negotiate on behalf of literally billionaires to try to get the banks to reduce their debt. That then led me to having my first client, which is my ex-wife, was my first client, and she's a great lady, or was a great lady, and it's a shame, but she was my first client. And when we got married, I took over her debt and figured out how to pay it off, and that was my first aha moment. And I said, let's take these skills that I've developed over years dealing with, multinational banks, and let the little guy get a chance to get the same type of service that very wealthy people, that was only available to very wealthy people.
Yeah, Howard, this makes me think about something. Debt isn't always somebody's fault. Debt could be due to a health issue. Debt could be to losing their job. Debt could be due to a divorce. And these women that may or not have ever worked, and now they're saddled back with 50% of debt. So I want those that are listening to know that we understand life happens and shit happens. And you know what? Just put your big girl panties on or big boy panties on and go get some help, because it's not embarrassing anymore. We all fall, but it's the what you said, don't repeat your habits again. Get out of debt and stay out of debt, right?
I mean, Vicki, bad things happen to good people.
I got that note right here on my wall. Exactly.
Bad things happen to good people. But I will tell you that, there is a way out of debt, and you need to learn. You can make a mistake. It's okay. This is tough stuff. You're not going to be 100% right every time. But
Right.
when you make a mistake, learn from that mistake and make sure you don't repeat it.
I've always told my kids that. Don't ever make a mistake twice. So,
Unfortunately, it takes me, I'm not that smart, so it takes me 2 or 3 times
well,
of
I'm
making a
sure
mistake.
it takes 1 or 2, but I'm a big believer in that too. Just don't repeat bad habits. So number 4, what do you think are the biggest financial problems facing people today, and have the problems changed due to the pandemic? And I'm going to say, of course they have, but let's talk
That's a
about that.
great question. And I think the biggest problem is how people view debt. And people tend to view debt in a weird way. Because my parents have always been in debt, I should be in debt. And why should I not carry a balance on my credit cards? Because it worked for my mom and my dad, and we have a nice life. They don't understand that living without debt is a great thing, and it's a much easier way to live. And that is part of our responsibility at debt.com, is to set you on the right path and keep you out of debt for the rest of your life. With regards to the pandemic, my biggest concern are some people aren't working, and some people aren't working by choice, not by situation. Meaning, right now, between unemployment and the government subsidy, you may be making more sitting at home than you are actually going back to your job for $15 an hour, which makes no sense. We have to incentivize people to go back to work. And then the other side is they're not paying their bills. There's so many programs out there that they're kicking that financial can down the street until eventually it hits a head, and then there's going to be another financial crisis, even in the housing market, which our companies benefited from for many years after the last housing crisis. And frankly, it's coming again. It is coming again, and people need to realize that there are outlets. They need to start making their payments and make sure that they don't get themselves in trouble.
Right. I love that. Last time, I have to wear my glasses. So walk me through what happens when people click on the link that we provide, and what sort of assessment do they go through? How do you help them? What sort of process do they go through? So we're going to go into somebody right now listening and viewing this. And by the way, thank you all that are viewing this. We are here to help you. But if you go to debt.com, where do they land, and where do they go, and how do they know they're going in the right place?
Well, first of all, and thank you for allowing us to
Yes.
talk to your viewership.
This is not our first rodeo, Howard. We're going to be doing a lot of these.
Oh, I'm excited. But basically, listen, and not to be egotistical, we're the best in the business. People are going to go through, they're going to put their contact information in, depending on what they need and the levels they need, they're going to get contacted, whether it's for whatever debt issue they have, whether that's they need debt management, whether they need debt settlement, whether they need bankruptcy, whether they need credit restoration or tax advice. we're going to provide that. And that's a lot of different things that we're good at. I mean, specifically, people are going to go through, they're going to be contacted by a certified counselor that's going to go through and look at their income, look at their expenses, and look at their finances and how much they owe, and determine the correct program that would benefit them. And if honestly, there is not one size fits all when you're in debt. Different people need different things, Vicki. And the fact of the matter is, we're going to try to put the best program together to get that person out of debt or whatever financial need they have, to help them and keep them with living a debt-free life.
Oh, I love that. I love that, because I think that is the key to happiness, is when we have less stress and we're more focused and we can concentrate on what's important to us, your health will improve, life will improve, and I just think all around it's going to be great. So I'm super excited to have this opportunity with our viewers and our listeners. So, and I got one more question for you, and then we are about at our 30-minute mark. When someone decides to work with debt.com, how quickly does this happen when they are on the way to feeling less stressful? Because I tend to be stressed like 90% of my life. I am stressed. But when I have things in check and I have a pretty good balance of I think of myself as a tree and I have all these different branches, and I try to prune off the ones that are dead or that ones that are dragging me down. I think debt is a big part of this. And so when we look at them working with them, when do you think, what's the process? 3 years, 4 years, so they can kind of feel like, okay, this is I'm better than I was.
I mean, listen, everybody takes debt on differently. Our programs that we offer, you could last up to 3 or 4 years. Some last up to 2 years. Some, last up to an hour consultation, which is free, by the way. But at the end of the day, living debt-free is such a relief. Let's face it, debt is part of our life and currently. And to remove the stress associated with carrying debt is a big thing. 50% of all marriages, Vicki, fail because of fail, period.
I get it.
Number one reason is financial stress. And if I can help people take that away, I'm doing a good thing in this world. And I can tell you that, day after day, I get letter after letter, just like this one, that basically said, thank you for saving my life. Thank you for saving my family. You changed my life. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I've been doing this for 3 decades. I know what we're doing.
Well, when you get a letter like that, and you know that, what you were placed on this planet for a specific purpose, it gives you a reason to wake up every single day and do what you do. So
isn't that the greatest feeling? You walk out and you just feel good that you changed somebody's life for the better.
And I know I do that with my insurance and financial services.
Absolutely. Look at what you do.
I know every single day that I go to work, and now my son's running my life insurance division. We just when we get that death claim, call, it's like, oh God, please don't tell me somebody else died. But statistically, we're all going to die, right? And so, I look at me as helping families able to succeed and continue on, and you're doing the same thing with the debt, and together we're going to partner and blow this out of the water. But is there anything else you really want to tell our listeners and viewers that I haven't asked you?
You've asked me some great things. I mean, the fact of the matter is, you need to look at your finances as a whole. Not only do you need to look at what you make,
right?
It's not only what you make, it's what you keep. And it's not only, and part of that is the proper investments, carrying the proper amount of debt for good things, not bad things. And frankly, you need to focus on the security of your family going forward, and you provide an excellent source for that. And at the end of the day, you think of your finances as a big ball, and you have to take little bites of that ball in order to digest it and make sure that all the pieces are secure in your life and you can live a great life if you do the proper planning
And
stick
in
to
addition to
stick
that,
to that plan.
yeah, absolutely. In addition, it's like, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? So,
Absolutely.
Either way, I just want the listeners to know we have a lot in store for you. We have so many great things coming. We're got some great partnerships and tools. We're going to help the listeners and partnering with debt.com, and just stay tuned for future podcasts. And Howard, I just want to thank you. I'm going to look forward to coming to Florida, and we're going to whoop it up. I'm going to teach you how to whoop it up, and we're going to invite your daughter down from Maryland.
Hey, if you want to hang out with a boring CPA, you come on down, and I got to tell you, I'd love to whoop it up with you.
Okay, good. Well, good. Thank you so much. Have a great week. And everybody go to debt.com. We're going to put a link on our podcast here. And just want to thank you, Howard, for your generosity with your time. I think that's
Thank you so much, and it means a lot that we are partnering with you, and you're a great role model, and keep it going.
okay. Tell your daughter, tell her to go whoop it up. She'll know what that is.
I don't think she has any problem with whooping it up.
Okay, good. Some people don't know what that means, but I'll teach you, Howard.
I need to be taught, Vic. I need to be taught.
Awesome. Okay, thanks so much.
Thanks so much for your time today.
Okay, take care. Okay.
Now, glutathione is a big word, but it's the body's own master antioxidant. So it's a scavenger for free radicals, for bacteria, and what's relevant now, viruses. This is new to the marketplace. There's no other product on the market that has the ingredient NACET.
And basically NACET increases the production of that glutathione that is in our body already to strengthen and enhance our immune system and keep it strong. Elevated sense of well-being. Supports muscle strength and endurance. Cognitive function. Powerful liver support. Energy. Helps blood sugar regulation. Superior bioavailability of key ingredients.
One of your best defenses against COVID is a strong immune system. Taking GSH Plus as a daily supplement does all that. And now we have the product out on the marketplace.